Hello and welcome back to our bite-sized budgeting series. This video is part 2 of our other personnel installment. In this video, in order to keep these videos bite-sized, we will cover budgeting other personnel through Section A of the internal budget.
In the last installment, we covered how to budget for personnel that are salaried and have university effort that may take place over an inconsistent number of hours in a week or a day. When salaried individuals commit time to a grant, it is expressed as a proportion of their salary, whereas non-salaried personnel, it's expressed hourly or weekly or monthly or by semester. So it's important to make sure that they're in the correct place in the budget so that it's calculating appropriately. Typically, people are paid hourly if they are not salaried, but there are instances where it may be appropriate to mark it as weekly, monthly, annually, or even as a flat stipend. If you are paying someone who is not affiliated with UIS, that does not go in our budget spreadsheet where it says senior personnel, salaried personnel, other personnel, any of those. There are a few different categories of other direct costs, and they assess indirect costs differently. They are taxed differently when they're put into Banner. So those are important to put into the correct category, but those are a future installment that we will go over because there are so many different nuances to it. There are certain allowable rates, and I will be honest that the Office of Research and Sponsored Programs are not in charge of these rates. Sometimes we are not as up to date on those rates, so there are other offices that are more appropriate to speak to. However, it is unallowable to offer below state minimum wage, which in Illinois is $15 per hour. If you are budgeting for a graduate assistant at UIS, that title is reserved for a 9-month contract employee. So if you are hiring an hourly graduate student, we do ask that you use a different term than graduate assistant. The rates to pay a graduate assistant is updated annually, and first year grad students are paid at a different rate than second year graduate assistants. To check for that current rate and the negotiated escalation, go ahead and check in with the graduate assistantship office so that you are using the most current numbers. It is also important to note, besides it being a 9-month commitment, when you hire a graduate assistant, you would also cover their tuition waiver, which, depending on different features of the student you end up hiring, it can get pretty pricey. Tuition is covered in a future video when we cover other direct costs. When you are hiring for a position that requires specialized expertise or you want to make the job posting more competitive, it may be appropriate to offer more than minimum wage. HR does have to approve the rates that you actually hire someone at, and there are guidelines that they have to follow, which means guidelines you have to follow, and it is based on compensation data as well as state university civil service system guidelines. So when you do want to hire those individuals, make sure you speak to HR. And while you're at it, you can ask them what sort of benefits those individuals would be eligible for. Because depending on benefit eligibility, there are different fringe rates that are going to calculate on the budget. I will go over that more in depth in the next installment, but different employees have different fringe rates. I will go into that more in the next installment. But I do want you to know that the budget spreadsheet is set up to calculate fringe automatically based on these categorizations. So make sure you are really looking at those cells and putting them into the appropriate category. University employees that are eligible for retirement, whether they sign up for it or not, if they are eligible, that is charged one rate on sponsored programs. It is the highest rate. Employees that are not eligible for retirement, that is a lower rate that is calculating in the budget. Hourly students, when you employ them, their fringe or their benefit rate is based on their enrollment. So if they are enrolled at least half-time, it is a different fringe rate than if they are enrolled less than half-time. And then graduate assistants, I believe, are at the same rate as hourly students enrolled at least half-time. The dreaded budget. There are a lot of cells. It looks very intimidating, but you only have to fill out the yellow cells that are relevant to your budget. If you do not have 10 personnel, you can hide those cells. Please don't delete them because there are equations set up with things. Removing cells messes with equations. So just hide them so you don't have to look at them. And it might look a little less scary. In the last installment, we already covered our key personnel, Dr. Smith. In this installment, we have other non-key personnel, Mr. Doe. This is a salaried, SERS eligible, retirement eligible individual. So even though Mr. Doe is not senior personnel, we do need to calculate it in this section because of his salaried nature and his eligibility for retirement. You'll notice that Mr. Doe is on a 12-month contract. He is not faculty, so he is not on that 9-month contract. So you'll notice even though Dr. Smith and Mr. Doe have the same base salary, their monthly salary is going to be different because it's dividing by 9 versus 12 months. Retirement eligible personnel have that same yearly fringe rate. This is the rate for fiscal year 2026. This could change on July 1st, and that will be what is automatically assessed in reality if this proposal were to be granted. University employees have a 1% standard of living raise for this academic year. This could change in upcoming years. It is usually announced around the start of the fall semester each year, and we do update the budget accordingly. And due to being, non-key personnel, non-lead personnel, Mr. Doe is not dedicating nearly as much effort to the project. He is only estimating about 2% effort. If you remember me saying a few times, the yellow cells are the only things you typically need to edit or change what's in a dropdown. Mr. Doe is a 12-month employee, so he is not eligible for any sort of summer month effort. He is not working overtime. He's not putting in overload time. So his dropdown is contract effort only.
In the next video, we will pick up where we left off and cover the rest of the internal budget and 3 external sponsor budget templates.